From the Rural Radio Network, I'm Lacey Shippey with a look at what's happening in grain and livestock trade today. Grains are mostly higher today on trade news with China. Cattle are down. Feeders are limit down 9.25 with the exception of November. And to discuss that with us is Arlan Suderman with StoneX Financial. Arlan, tell me, fundamentally, this market should be okay, but it seems like trade is just too spooked to get behind this market. Tell me what you see happening today.
Yeah, that's really the case right now is we had major fund ownership in the cattle market, both feeder cattle and in the live cattle market. It's not that big a volume market anyway relative to some of the others. So if the funds move, it tends to move prices. And we need to keep in mind that over 50% of the trades that are put on in this market are put on by computers reading headlines, computers reading social media, computers reading chart signals, etc. So when the charts break support, they're going to pile on sell orders. And I think we're seeing a lot of that. The fund's nervous because President Trump seems bent on bringing beef prices down. Even though USDA Secretary Rollins says she doesn't have a date for opening the border, they've been having lots of meetings, including meetings with President Sheinbaum of Mexico this week. And there's just fear in there about maintaining ownership.
And in terms of our commodity trade today, we are seeing a mostly positive day over there with some news coming out of China. Tell me, what have we found out more coming from China and this trade agreement?
The markets are encouraged because China took steps to cut their retaliatory tariffs they put in place on May the 14th of last year. That was a 20% tariff on U.S. ag commodities, which pretty much closed the door for most ag commodities going into China. However, they only cut it by half. So now they're still at 10%. So any soybeans they buy from us, they have to pay 10% more than if they buy them from Brazil. And so while the market's reacting positively, the fact that China is essentially acknowledging the agreement by doing this, it still means that any soybeans purchased from the United States will have to largely be purchased by the state grain buyer, Sinograin, unless China takes additional steps to waive those tariffs, which it has not yet done.
Okay, well, thank you, Arlen. That is Arlen Suderman with StoneX Financial. I'm Lacey Shippey with the Rural Radio Network.